Hey guys, welcome back to my next art book preview video. This week we have the Marvel art of David Nakayama. So you're going to notice this is quite a large book, quite a high page count. Quick look at the front and back there, and the first thing I want to point out is the metallic edging on these pages. I don't own many books like this, and I must admit it's a really nice feature. So this one doesn't actually have a contents to it, and to be honest, it probably doesn't really need it. It's basically just artwork, a gallery all the way from front to back, pretty much of comic book covers, I believe, and it is absolutely awesome. He starts by talking at the beginning. There's a little forward by J. Scott Campbell, but there's also a little bit by David Nakayama, where he actually talks about how J. Scott Campbell was his biggest influence, and he thanks him. So that's pretty cool, pretty interesting. A lot of you guys will be familiar with J. Scott Campbell. Does some really cool comic book work and also a lot of pin-up work. So anyway, this one is a huge book, as mentioned at the beginning. I think there's like over 200 pages, but I'll put that kind of information in the description just in case I'm wrong. And it does have a ribbon in it, as you can see here. I quite like books that come with a ribbon in. I think it always makes them a little bit more premium, but I must admit I have had some books in the past that have had like damaged pages from like where the ribbons got a bit twisted and, you know, compressed into a large heavy book. So personal preference, I guess. I am skipping through this one pretty quickly because there's just so much content here. This only arrived this morning, and I normally just set up, I record straight away before I've even looked through it. I started looking through this one first, and whoa, I was absolutely blown away by it. I spent like half an hour just flicking through it, just getting distracted, going like every single page. I did not miss anything because it is just, it's so good. Now, obviously I bought this because I am a big fan of David Nakayama's style. I don't know a huge amount about the artist, don't get me wrong. I just found him on Instagram, and I was blown away. It's actually these covers that caught my attention where I don't really know how to describe it. He works very strongly with like one colour, but he really makes it work. Normally something that's a bit monotone can come across a little bit boring, in my opinion. But the way he does it, like with a cover that you saw, which is a really nice cover, he kind of separates his foreground with line art, but it really makes it stand out. So I do want to talk a little bit about like his thicker line art. It reminds me a little bit of a few other artists, and also a little bit of like an Art Nouveau style. But yeah, he has got some really good backgrounds throughout as well, don't get me wrong. But I just think some of them, especially at the end, we'll see some where he's used mainly one colour. He still manages to get a huge amount of contrast and really make things pop. It's pretty amazing, really. So those are the covers that I actually recognise his work from the most. Them and his just awesome work of line art. And pieces like this actually remind me quite a bit of like Patrick Brown's artwork. If you guys have heard me mention him before, another comic book artist, Marvel artist, incredibly good, really good example of using one colour, or mainly one colour there, by the way. But yeah, Patrick Brown, another really good artist that uses quite bold line art like this. Things really pop. I would say Patrick Brown's style is more cel-shaded though, but it's so detailed that it looks quite similar in my opinion. David, I would say, has more of a painterly style overall. These two are a really good example of how he uses line art. Again, really bold around the outside, but you can see the detail on the face is really painterly. It doesn't really have any line art to that. Really good. And if you are a comic book hero or Marvel hero fan, then this book is just going to be perfect for you. I can't imagine anyone really not liking his style, to be honest. It's just so good. Obviously, it is heavily digital, so I guess if that's not your kind of thing, maybe less so, but I still think everyone could love this book. It's awesome. And, you know, I've got some great books where they've got some good artwork in, but some also quite poor artwork. This one, front to back, is just absolutely awesome. Look at that. And I will say that I think I prefer the second half of the book to the first half. It's very similar. It's the same kind of content, but you can see his skills have developed even more so in the back end of the book because, you know, it's somewhat in date order. I talked about how he uses line art heavily. There are actually some pieces where he has painted it out a little bit as well. Two more really good examples there of what I mentioned about him using like a single colour and really making things pop. Well, maybe not a single colour, but, you know, one or two colours, mainly focusing on one colour. Quite a, well, definitely a simple background, but it really works. Here's one without the line art, so you notice it being a little bit more painterly. So he does have a painterly style, but he combines that with lines, which sometimes doesn't work, but he definitely makes it work. It does have information at the bottom, by the way, about, you know, what it's from, which issue, comic book cover, and the date that he did it. So I will put links to where I got this from because I have a feeling the price might go up long term for this one. So I would definitely get this whilst you can. It's not cheap, but it's not bad either, really. And this was actually a Kickstarter project. I didn't actually back this one on Kickstarter though. I usually do, but sometimes when they're American, the shipping can be really, really expensive. So sometimes quite a lot more expensive than the book itself. So on this occasion, I decided to just wait until it was out in the UK, but I definitely wanted this one as soon as possible. I'm actually skipping quite a few pages at a time. We are getting to the back end of the book, maybe the back third or so. The pages aren't numbered, but there's still loads to go. There are other books in this series, by the way. Some are still being released or in production. This is book 3 in the series. There's the Alex Maleev book and also the David Mack book. As well as that, there's one coming out by someone called Russell Dauterman. I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. And also there's one dedicated to Michael Turner. 2 of those are still in production at the time of me making this. I don't know if they're making more or not. I kind of want to see inside those, but I'll be honest, from what I have seen though, I don't think the artwork is anywhere near as high level or at least as appealing to me personally as this one. No disrespect to the artists, of course, it is personal preference. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts if you own any of them. Some more epic examples of what I was talking about with the colours. Yeah, there's so much content in this book, guys. I'm going to leave it at that. We'll get into the end of it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll put all the links to anything related to this, where I got the book from, any other books I've got that are like this style, in the description box below. Aside from that though, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel so I can keep making content like this. Thanks for watching, everyone.